Alright, welcome to the channel. There's recently been a resurgence in Blood Bowl popularity in my local area with some new leagues and tournaments starting up, and I thought this was a great opportunity for me to try out some new painting techniques and get my team on the tabletop. We're going to be using some smash chop, some slap chop and some sketch chop in order to paint these models, or basically I'm going to call it the all chop. Let's get into it. If you're new to my channel or new to my painting, you'll know that I generally spend a lot of time painting display pieces or painting for competition. I don't normally get the opportunity to paint tabletop or to paint for games. I wanted to change that today and try some new techniques, namely slap chop, smash chop and sketch chop, in order to create a process where I could deliver something to a quality that I was satisfied with that allowed me to elevate it at a later stage. Now, if you spend any time on YouTube, you'll know what slap chop is, smash chop or sketch chop. Obviously these terms have been coined by a number of content creators, from Honest Wargamer, Ninja, JH Miniatures to name a few. I wanted to take some lessons from them but apply some of my own in order to create something that I could work with. So we're starting with the Zenithal Prime. I've just primed the model in black and then I'm coming back in with some titanium white and shooting it from the top, trying to catch all those big details and muscle bellies. Following that up with some fuchsia to the underside of the model. Just want to be coating all of the areas underneath, anywhere that was still black. Just getting that fuchsia down real quick. Follow up with some dark violet into the deepest shadows. This is like underneath the armpit, underneath the neck, underneath his chest plate thing, the bottom of the tail. Just anywhere that would be in the deepest shadow. Then to establish our skin tones, we're coming in with some Adriatic blue and just shooting that all over the white, trying to soften those transitions into the fuchsia. So by using this underpainting of purple, fuchsia and blue, we're essentially using the slap chop approach, or setting the foundations to build upon slap chop. So slap chop is a process or a practice of painting that was coined by the Honest Wargamer back in the day, and it's one that has grown in popularity across the community. It basically relies on some strong base tones and some deep recess shading to quickly establish information, texture and detail within the model. So starting with some storm blue, we're essentially treating this a bit more like a wash than a contrast, so I've thinned it down a wee bit with some additional water. We're just applying this pretty much all over the model. If you get it on the underside where the purple and pinks are, it won't really do too much, but ensure you get it through all of the large muscle bellies and into those scales. Following that up with some deep purple, we're just going to apply this all over the scales. This will help set the foundation for the reds that we're applying later and help tie in some of those colours that we had from the underpainting. Also gives us more range to play with in our highlights. So by adding in the contrast paints, we're already speeding up the process and we're adding more tonal variation within the skin and within the scales. The complement of the blues and the purples will create some more tonal variation and create more interest within the textured areas of the model. So starting off with some Khorne red, I'll create two mixes with different amounts of water to create different opacity layers here. We're applying quite thick layers towards the top where we want that strong vibrant colour to show through, and then as we start to transition into those shadow areas, we start to use the thinner paint. We do the same with the Mephiston red, really targeting the upper areas, leaving some of the Khorne red exposed and some of the deep purple and blues from our contrast paints. Use quite deliberate brush strokes whenever you're doing this so you can apply texture, and do the same in the fins on the head. So now we're really into that whole smash chop area by using different opacity paints to create interesting colour variations and transitions across our model. Using them in different ways to create more detail and emphasis on shapes and different volumes within the model. I think this is becoming a really effective method to get these guys on the tabletop super quick. So we're doing exactly the same thing with the skin tones, using some Adriatic blue in different mixes of opacity here. Because we're using the different layers and different consistencies, we're able to build smooth transitions quickly using the smash chop approach here. So I'm picking out the major muscle bellies, bringing in some information, not too worried about the shadows, and just trying to create smooth transitions through the different opacity mixes. Then coming in with some Caribbean blue and basically doing the same thing but targeting smaller areas within the model where I can create more detail and more focus. So really just looking to hit the top of the muscle bellies, create some more focus towards the face and the main detail areas. And you can see this is quite quick, it's quite sketchy. There's not too much time being spent to smooth out the transitions because we're using those different opacity mixes. Adding in a bit of Hykey yellow here to the Caribbean blue, we're just increasing the value and creating a bit more focus around the very top of the muscle bellies, or again in those major focal areas like the face. So we're looking to create smaller highlights here, kind of tying into the whole sketch chop approach. We're using small lines to pick out intricate bits of detail and focus within the model. So continuing on with that smash chop approach, we're looking to define all the large muscle bellies and details within the models. We're kind of getting into the whole sketch chop approach here by introducing the Hykey yellow and really picking out some individual key areas within the model, especially around the face, as that's a focal area. So the addition of the Hykey yellow helps to play into the idea of some basic complementary colour theory, helping to emphasise the scheme and take it to another level to really boost the overall contrast. Now to pick out the remaining details within the model, like the teeth, the nails, the claws, the ropes, all those parts, we're coming in with some Rhinox hide, laying down our foundation so we can quickly establish some fast highlights over the top of these. This time not that worried about maintaining any of those purple or fuchsia tones underneath. We just want to establish a nice even base coat across each of these bone sections. Following up with some XV88, we're going to apply some quick, almost like edge highlights to each of these, creating these long bands or striations throughout the bone. Using the side of my brush, just running it along the edge or the side of the bone or claw. Following that up with some Ushabti bone, we're just going to highlight them up one more time. Again, we're using different opacity mixes here so we can smooth out the transitions quite quickly and create different levels of detail within each of the components. We're also using different mixes of Ushabti bone and Rhinox hide in order to highlight up the cloth and the ropes. This just helps to build continuity between the model and keeps all of those extra details quite muted. But again, you can see we're using large brush strokes, defining large highlight areas and creating that sort of sketch chop, smash chop approach to our highlighting process, adding in small details with individual strokes. So using that combination of smash chop and sketch chop, we're able to quickly establish all of the details within the model, creating that nice foundation and then adding in a couple of additional lines just to really pick out the key details. So using more muted neutral tones across all of those details allows those vivid bright reds and blues to really stand out. Shorts are very similar to the brown materials. Again, we're just coming in with a mix of Abaddon black and Mechanicus standard grey. Try saying that one 3 times fast. Adding in some quick sketched in highlights, drawing in some fast lines, stipples and dots just to create this detail and information within the shorts. Doing the same with Mechanicus standard grey on its own, again with different levels of opacity here in our mixes, adding in some additional water if we want to have a softer transition. And lastly, finishing that off with some Dawnstone. Again, you can see it's very quick, it's very sketchy, it's very fast to get this done and get that level of detail within the shorts. So if you're enjoying the process so far and would like to see more of the all chop, let me know in the comments below and don't forget to like and subscribe. So using these techniques, we're able to establish some detail within the shorts quite quickly using some fine lines and stipples. These are normally techniques I would reserve for display painting or competition painting, but using a combination of smash chop and sketch chop, I'm able to apply this to my tabletop pieces. Now as we've been able to save some time in the other steps, we're going to spend a wee bit of extra time highlighting up the football because it's a key part of Blood Bowl. Starting off with some Doombull brown, again with different opacity mixes here, we're creating a transition up towards the top or where the light's coming from. Again, we're applying this in kind of a sketchy manner. We're not really too concerned about creating smooth transitions. We want to introduce some texture and some detail within this surface. Obviously, a football does have all those textured dots on it, so we're going to try and recreate that by adding in some Hykey yellow to our Doombull brown and start to stipple in some details on top of that. Again, this one's tying in quite heavily to the sketch chop approach by using small brush strokes to create intricate details within our model. Adding in some more Hykey yellow, we just repeat the process again using different opacity mixes depending on how high we want the value or how bright we want the layer to appear. And feel free to highlight this up as much as you want depending on how much wear and tear and damage you want to show in the football. So even in the ball, you can see I'm sort of doing the same thing, creating that texture and information, but we're not really that worried about creating smooth transitions through these colors, because we know that the distortion and noise created by the stippling will smooth out those transitions for us and allow us to continue working at speed. Because we've been able to save so much time with Slap Chop, Sketch Chop and Smash Chop, we're able to add in extra details and extra focal areas within the project. This is something that I would normally have not had the time to do. So for all the metallic sections, we started off with a base of exhaust manifold. I'm then applying some Black Lotus, which is another Xpress color, and we're applying this just to the inner sections of each of the metallic sections. This gives you an automatic edge highlight. I seen artists opus to it and I thought it was a great approach to doing true metallics at speed, and thought we could incorporate it into the all chop approach. With any gold sections, we're just applying a coat of nuclear yellow all over that to give it that gold tint. This means that we can essentially apply exhaust manifold over all the metallics. We don't have to worry about grabbing extra paints or making the process more complicated than it needs to be. This actually gives you a really nice muted tone to your gold as well, which I thought was quite cool. Coming in with some wasteland brown, we're just going to add some depth to the gold into those shadows or recessed areas, creating some information and some contrast into our true metallics. So even when it came to doing the true metallics, I was able to do this super fast using a combination of Smash Chop and Slap Chop in order to create this tonal variation and the different finishes across the metallics. Allowed me to move rapidly through this section, which normally takes me forever whenever I'm doing true metallics, but this just made it so easy. So for the bases, we're just grabbing some of that magic powder and some pigment binder, and I've created this almost like slurry mix that we're just applying all over the base. Applying it to the feet as well, so everything looks like it's integrated and incorporated into the scene. Taking some light yellow ochre pigment and sort of just smattering that across the base and then mixing it all together. If you get some in the tufts, just dust it through and it helps to incorporate those. So being able to combine Slap Chop, Smash Chop and Sketch Chop into one overarching technique, the all chop, has been an absolute game changer for me. If I want to get teams ready, if I want to get armies ready, I'll probably be relying quite heavily on a lot of the techniques and approaches you've seen in this video. Using these techniques sequentially to build up my highlights and details within the model has really improved my speed overall. It's definitely made me reevaluate my initial impressions of these techniques. It's important to keep an open mind whenever you're painting and try new things before making any judgments. This has saved me a load of time in getting this army ready. I started them on the Monday, had them finished by Thursday and was ready to play games at the weekend. Previously I wouldn't have thought that was possible to get it up to this standard in that time frame. And it's allowing me to participate in more events in my community, which is always a bonus. But let's get them on the spinny thing and let's get a proper look. So I don't want to sound too proud, but the all chop has delivered here. We have a fantastic looking team with super vivid reds, bright blues, loads of saturated colors, strong details and information throughout the model. By using those fuchsias and purple underpaintings, we've been able to add extra detail and information within multiple components across the model. I couldn't have asked for a better result in the amount of time that we spent on these. I wouldn't look at these and think 10 hours, but I can't wait to get them on the tabletop and get some games. Hopefully you found that useful. If you have any comments, questions or suggestions for future videos, please drop them below in the comments. And if you want to take your painting to the next level, I have a Patreon that's focused around feedback and coaching. You also get access to exclusive guides and content. If you want to show me what you've been working on or what you've been using these videos for, please head over to the Discord and drop some pics into the whips or the completed projects. I would love to see what you've been doing. Just want to say thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you at the next one. All links can be found below in the description, and don't forget to like and subscribe.